Yes, and we are live. And welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. My name is Michelle Williams. And for those of you all who are new here today, what I do on Teaching Tip Tuesday is I help math teachers of struggling learners to effectively manage their classrooms and to increase student achievement. And I do that through good old math instruction, response to intervention, project-based learning, technology integration. And if you cannot make it live with me on Teaching Tip Tuesday, you can always catch me on the replay. And you're probably saying, well, why do I need to tune in live? Because what I do is focus on those students that um, most people have a difficult time educating, which is really going to be a focus of our attention tonight, because tonight is going to be a different Teaching Tip Tuesday. Kids that are behind and need support with math, they can catch me here on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So let's go ahead and get started, because this is a 30-minute show and I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to, because I have a ton of work to do myself. So tonight's episode of Teaching Tip Tuesday is a little different. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I have heard, and it's so disheartening. I'm very, very, as a matter of fact, and very direct when I talk. So one of the things, we know that America is not in love with teachers. There was a guy on one of the threads that was saying that, teachers think they're special. I said, no, we don't think we're special. Y'all disrespect us on a daily basis. You disrespect us. You don't work with the schools. We know that we're not special by the way that you fund our schools, and how you try to disenfranchise our students in the public school system by preying on them and taking funding away from them. So we know that we're not special. However, what we do and what teachers do every day, we show up every day and we do our jobs. I've been in this profession for 20 years. I started teaching when I was 25. When I first My first job was teaching first grade. And it seems so long ago. My son was 5 years old at the time, and I had started teaching. But I never thought that I would see the day that America would disrespect its teachers like they do. And they do. It's a disrespect and disregard for what we do every day. Now, when we shut down the schools, or when the governor shut down the schools in March, everybody was like, oh, you all have such a hard job. Yeah, but these are your children. They're not our children. We love them. We take care of them. That's part of our job. We protect them when they're with us. And one of the things that you all don't understand, teaching is not a job. It's more of a calling. And we work with children, not products. And for people to say you just need to do your job, you're putting our lives at stake. So I put together, a lesson for people who are not educators, because I don't have to tell educators, because they understand. They understand what it means to go into schools every day and to go into some of the worst situations that you could ever possibly see, and have anxiety, and have administrators and policy that doesn't support you in any way. If anything, it makes your job harder. Like, even now in this pandemic, we have the state of Texas telling us that our kids are still going to have to take the freaking STAR test. Who does that? So you're going to test children who are under stress, and you're going to test teachers that are under stress, and then you're going to test the school system that is being put through God knows what, and you're going to rate us on that. So that's where your actual your priorities lies giving millions of dollars to Pearson, my God, of all people, instead of taking care of your schools. And the state of Texas, let me be clear, they took our CARES Act money that was supposed to be given to the schools, and they plugged holes in their budget. So guess what it did? It shifted the burden of PPE onto an already cash strapped school district. So they hijacked our money and said, "Oh, we're going to buy it." You cannot buy enough money for buy enough PPE for Dallas ISD or Houston ISD. They are your largest school systems. You can't buy that. What, you're going to buy it for a month and then say you're on your own? That's what we're talking about. They took our money and say, now you all have to deal with it. You have a Robin Hood funding that hijacks money from our school district, and we have to give it to other school districts, millions of dollars. But that's the system that we work in, and that's what you all are telling us. Go back and do your job. Okay, so we're going to start with this, because the title of my live stream tonight is What Really Happens When Schools Open. For starters, the very first thing that we do is we have to have drills. So here are some of the drills that we deal with. We have to go into a lockdown. We evacuate. We shelter in place. We hold. So when you're talking about, oh, open the schools and I have to go to work, you're activating your fire department and all these other state agencies, because the school system is a part of a community. And I know that's brand new for some of you all. And, sorry about the sarcasm, because I'm really irritated when people say open the schools. So you're activating all these already stressed out systems. So your police, your city police, because your truancy courts are also activated in that. So your court system, who is already online and behind, you're activating them as well. We have kids that are in CPS custody. You're activating them as well. So all of these things, plus these drills, how are you supposed to social distance when you have to huddle in the corner and turn the lights out? How does that work? How does a fire drill every 30 days work when you have to social distance? And then, not to mention, some of these schools whose their ventilation systems are not the best. Some of our schools are very, very old. Then you have schools that are used as hurricane shelters. How many windows do you think they have? And when they say, oh, you need to open the windows up, she said, girl, heck no. How are we going to go to tornado or active shooter drill? Yes. How are we going to go to the restroom? We use a community restroom. So my thing is, you're saying open these schools, but you really don't want to know what happens in schools and how many state agencies you're activating. Also, in your urban school district, we have wraparound services. So all of these things right here, you have case managers, you have people that come out. We have kids. I know my school, we have, I want to say, 3 treatment center for adults, not adults, for children that feed into our school. So, you're activating all these things. So you have your family support organizations, have parent guardians, you have family members, siblings, all these things. We have ARD meetings, IEP meetings, people have to attend. So all these people, a school is just not a place where teachers and students reside. We have food services. that go from school to school. We have milk people that bring milk into the school. So you're putting all these people at risk when you activate these schools. So, and you have people saying, well, I have to go to work. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm not empathetic. And I understand that parents have to go to work. But how much are other children's lives worth? How much are teachers' lives worth? Do you not know I caught the flu one year after 17 years of never having the flu? I never had the flu. One year, one little student, I guess it was a real bad strand of the flu, one student came to school sick. Do you know how many people got sick? It started with me. Then my students, and they were so concerned because I had never had the flu, so I didn't know what the symptoms were. Then it just started trickling. One little student that had asthma, he was out. Then it trickled to, and it just took out all of my students. And you mean to tell me that you want us to open in the midst of a pandemic? Houston does not even have enough morgue space. Houston doesn't have enough hospital space. So what happens when teachers and kids start to get sick? You got people out in Katy, Texas that are going to water parks as if nothing is wrong. Those are the same children that are going to show up in these schools. And then when the first child doesn't make it, then people are going to blame the officials in the school districts. And you know, we live in a litigious society. And they're going to want to make someone pay because their child is no longer here. And you can say, well, that's if, and kids don't get it. That's a lie. Children are dying. They are. Children and teachers and human beings are dying. And today, in the Houston Chronicle, a guy was on Facebook. He said that the obituary section was like 40 pages long. Like, we are in the midst of a pandemic. People are losing their lives, and people are saying, well, we need to get back to school. Well, we can't go to school if the community doesn't do its part. You won't wear a mask. Every day it's an instance of somebody up saying, I don't have to wear a mask. My freedom this, my freedom that. That's what we go through. But we can't go back to work and be enclosed in schools that have no windows and breathing air that is toxic and full of viruses. We go through that every year. Teachers probably have one of the strongest. I know my immune system is A1, but we pick up so many germs. You know how many teachers get lice from their students? And you mean tell me you don't think they're going to get this coronavirus from them? They get lice from the kids. I know several teachers that have gotten lice. We had a scabies outbreak at a school. It went from class to class. There was a family that brought the scabies to the school. We have kids that come to school with bed bugs. So you're telling me that this coronavirus, you just want us to go in there knowing that it could kill us. So moving on. So you got your diagram. You see all the things that wraparound services, your community members, all these people are activated when you reopen schools. And then we have parents. Now, this is more specific to my area. I work in a large urban school district. A lot of my parents are grandparents to their children. And a lot of the children go home to their grandparents. So when you're talking about opening up an urban school district, you're talking about wiping out some of these people in these communities because these children are not at home alone by themselves. A lot of the grandparents help, especially in my area. We cannot afford to do that. Now, I'll be the first. I want to go back to work because I really did not realize how much of a routine school was for me. And if there was a safe way to go back, I would be all for it. But you all want to throw us, and I'm saying you all, the public, all of the people are saying, yes, let's go back to school. Yeah, I have to go to work. Kids have to go to school. But you're not putting yourself at risk. The people at Kroger have more PPE than teachers will have. They have more fresh air. I would rather work at Kroger than to work in a school because at least there's some ventilation. At least. And guess what Kroger did for their cashiers? They put plexiglass. My school district has 283 campuses. Do you think that they are going to put that in all of those schools? Absolutely not. There are larger school districts than mine. Mine is the seventh largest in the nation. There are 6 more that are larger than my school district. And you really think that they have the money, the resources, and the manpower to put these safety precautions in place? I think not. Your tax dollars don't go that far. And last but not least, this was on Facebook. And if you think it's a game, the girl who posted it, she said, meanwhile, a school in Utah released their reopening plan. And she put it in red. She said, template letter for the death of a student, comma, teacher. Now, if you don't think it's a real threat, and it didn't say teacher, it says student and teacher, because teachers are not the only ones that are at risk. Your children are at risk. And one of the things that we do as teachers, we try as best as we can to keep our kids safe. Do you not know I've bought kids shoes? I have fed children. I have heard kids' stomachs growling and given them money to go to the vending machine to get food. We have combed hair. We have done all these things. And you've seen it time and time again with Sandy Hook. Teachers dying and principals, administrators caring and trying to keep kids safe. But this is what you all want us to go back to. That's a real thing. That's their crisis intervention plan. And as much as I'm mortified about it because it makes me think about my own mortality, I'm like, that's reality. That's what the American people are asking teachers and students to go back into, because you have to go to work. You know, you're asking us to risk our lives in situations where you don't even want your kids to wear masks. So you ain't talking about, oh, we want you to do your job. That little $50,000, $60,000 that a lot of teachers, some make, it's not worth their life. That's why they're going to have teacher shortages. Teachers are resigning. If they can retire, they're taking what retirement they can and getting the heck out of there. Because $50,000, $60,000 a year is not worth them going back into a school where they don't know that they're going to make it out. So that's what's happening. And it lets us know that you don't care about us. You don't. You got Florida over there with a governor who's allowing this virus. Florida has more COVID cases than the freaking EU. More. That's the state of Florida. That is bananas. The United States is being reduced to a third world country where it's mass chaos. We might as well not even have concrete roads. We need to go back to dirt roads and horse buggies, because that's how we're operating. It's foolishness. It's foolishness. And this is what you're putting us in, because people are preparing for teachers to die. They're preparing for students to die. It's going to happen. And we'll see how traumatized your student is because you push them back into a school and they find out that their teacher has died. Let me tell you something. In my 20 years, And I can ask you, have you ever been to a student's funeral? Well, I have. I've had several of my kids die. I've had children go to jail. One of my students, when I was in Louisiana, he went to jail for 16 years. He was 16 years old. I had one student hang herself with a tie. So I know what it's like to go to kids' funerals. And if you don't think it affects teachers, I've been teaching 20 years and I still remember that stuff like it's yesterday. When I was working in Galena Park, there was a student that was playing in a ditch. He jumped in the ditch and slid up under the city. I still remember that. That happened in 2004. So if you think that, teachers don't care, it's traumatic experiences that are in our future if we continue on this path. So I wanted to tell you that's what happens when you reopen schools. That's the reality that you're going to have. Now, one lady was like, well, bills have to get paid. Well, hey, there's consequences for every action. And if we keep going on this course, our consequences are going to be greater than that bill that you have to pay. And I want to leave you with this. This is me and my students. That's what schools look like. That's what we do. Our kids are our kids. We take care of them. But you all treat us like we're nothing. Oh, go do your job. Well, we would if you all would stay at home. So do us all a favor. Stay at home. Maybe we could get back to school and do our job. There are plenty teachers that would love to, but we can't supersede the community. So that's all I have for Teaching Tip Tuesday, and I hope you enjoyed it because I know once people watch this, they're going to have a lot to say, and I welcome the conversation because I'm 20 years in the game. Next year will be my 21st year in education, and I know what happens in schools. We take our job seriously, even though you don't care enough to give us any thanks. We still do it. We still take care of our students. We still show up and teach. But you all can't stay out of the streets and out of the bars and out of the restaurants so that we can go back to work. So you all have an excellent evening, and I'll see you all in my next live stream.